to see a world in a grain of sand and the heaven in a wild flower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. These beautiful lines were written by William Blake long before the photography became reality, and it feels so much relevant. Based on my own experience, I can tell with confidence that the person with the camera is able to see eternity in a split of a second, and that is something I love about photography very much. I usually say that when I have a camera in my hands, I feel like I have wings. I'm weightless. I'm above all things mundane. In other words, I'm happy. The camera in my hands helps to be completely in the moment. Forget all the worries of everyday life. To see a beauty not only in majestic vistas, but in simple, ordinary objects. There is more to that. It is possible to transfer that sense of happiness to someone else when the magic is captured in the photograph and saved and can become an inspiration for others. I heard many times from different people that they would like to live inside of my images. I consider it a great honor and another source of happiness that photography can bring. Even more when from time to time I Google my name, I see so many of my images and descriptions written by me, used for very different reasons on various websites. It's a wonderful feeling to know that something I was able to capture is shared, seen, and is working for benefits of many. It was in 2009 when I joined the Flickr photoblog, quite reluctantly, being afraid of the thought that someone could steal my photographs. How childish was that when I think about it now, 13 years after, with about 1,000 images on display. This observation by Mark Rothko strikes a chord with me. When I try to understand why I am attracted to something, what makes me look at it, and then try to capture it with the camera, I always find that it is something that evokes emotional response. During the COVID isolation period, I discovered in my own neighborhood a forest. It was a great opportunity to enjoy the forest baths almost every other day. Many beautiful plants were discovered, and one very special fallen tree. An old giant tree fell, and the stone that was buried, tightly embraced with the roots of this tree, became unearthed. The roots are still hugging the stone. Every time I look at it, I think about me spending so much time on photography now, which had never been my intention in life. It was one of many hobbies I had, but when some of my skills became unrequired after immigration to Canada, my photography, similar to that stone, saw a bright light of a day and became prominent. Trees were always a source of inspiration and strength for me, not only because of their unparalleled beauty and incredible usefulness, but also the energy they transmit. This giant willow in Edwards Gardens was photographed on the foggy morning. It towers over the park and protects the younger and smaller trees. This tree was hanging over the edge of Lake Ontario with half of its roots exposed. The picture was taken just as the sun was setting, delivering stunning colors of a Toronto sunset in the summer. Unfortunately, the tree is no longer standing as it fell in the winter of 2012. The beauty in this tree comes with the mystery of its story. Is it the tree that is holding the soil, or is it the soil that is holding the tree? This image I call the Rocky Embrace. It was taken in Ellora Gorge. Two elements have the potential to work together in a beautiful way, but they can also destroy each other in a fight to be number one. These tree roots have accepted the rock as their own, and together they have molded to form a wonderfully rocky embrace. Only future can tell what will become of this love-hate relationship. This tree provides a very unusual scene as the branches grow in two directions. The tree flourishes in the Rouge Valley, a premier urban wilderness park in Toronto. Soil erosion has knocked this tree to its side, but the tree did not give up and continues to grow toward the sky. It is this infallible determination that confirms anything is possible. I must thank again Colin Angus, who kindly guided me in the park so I could add this image to the collection of my 3 images that I was exhibiting some time ago as a part of Contact Photography Festival. One of my favorites, Metasequoia, Dawn Redwood. It was a tree never seen or heard before. It was like meeting someone for the first time and to know right away that you can be best friends. A very strong connection. This Metasequoia was like a magnet. I had to say hello to this giant every time I was walking in the Edwards Gardens, which used to be kind of my backyard since I live nearby. This tree was considered extinct and then discovered in China in 1942 as a small grove. Since then, the cones went everywhere, and you can see them in many places, also in the High Park, in the beaches area. I tried to understand why I'm so drawn to it. At first, the stretched branches reminded me of a prayer. So I called my image a prayer, thinking of someone who has nothing left in her his powers and is asking for help from universe. Later on, I realized there is more for me personally, like an Armenian. This tree was a symbol of my country, Armenia, once strong and magnanimous for several thousand years. It slowly was eaten up by hungry neighbors, and now it has survived like that small grove with people spread all over the world, with tiny communities away from their soil, trying to preserve the culture, the language, the identity as much as possible. Since I mentioned my motherland, Armenia, I would like to show a short photo essay where I tried to capture the spirit of the countryside with its unassuming beauty. When I joined the Don Mills Camera Club in 2006, I could never imagine that in less than 10 years I will participate in exhibits and have my photos printed on canvas, especially on a large scale. One of my most interesting images is on display in several private homes. It's Niagara Falls in winter. What makes it special is the snow sculpture that was formed in a female shape covered in a shawl. There is also a monster above her, so I called it the Beauty and the Beast. Can you see her? All this was possible and happened mostly because of the joining of camera clubs. I became a member of the Toronto Camera Club in 2012, but before I had been with the Don Mills Camera Club for 5 years and for 2 years with the Toronto Digital Photo Club. It was a rewarding experience literally, since I received many awards in all three clubs during these 15 years, but also metaphorically, because I experienced over these years a very visible growth in my ability not only to see, but also to present the image using editing tools and making most of it. Probably that is the most gratifying experience, to see this change, this growth, this improvement in your own work. As a matter of fact, it is really enjoyable to see the transformation in the works and growth of others as much. I met and became friends with very many great talents in these clubs. For someone like me who came to Canada leaving everything behind, it was priceless to find a place where it was possible to meet like-minded people who share similar passion and interests. I met in the clubs many seasoned photographers who influenced me and helped me in my journey through constructive criticism and advice. For instance, Pete Neely, a long-time member of the Don Mills Camera Club, was a good friend in life and also a friend on Flickr. With each new image I posted online, I was looking forward to his comments more than to the results of any of our competitions. The same thing was happening in our club, when members would approach me after the competition and comment on my images. This feedback made all the difference. Club membership is an informal educational process. Reaching in the club the level of the master is similar to getting a bachelor's degree in photography. We learn from each other, from comments and scores during competitions, through workshops and lectures. And also we learn enormously nowadays thanks to tutorials that are easily available on the internet. Everyone learns at their own speed, branching into different areas of photography. The first years are like being in a buffet dinner where you want to try everything. Usually it starts with sunsets and sunrises, when with the beautiful light, clouds and surroundings, it's easier to concentrate on composition and master the technical part of it. Here are some of my sunsets and sunrises taken mostly in Ontario. The next usually is learning about studio lights, mastering portrait photography. We are really lucky to have this opportunity in our club that is offered to every member. I participated in an exciting 6 workshops, first 3 with David Hillock and the second 3 with Jim Morgan. Here are some of my portraits. I should confess that making portraits is a thrilling process for me always. I try to experiment and to be able to capture the essence of someone's personality, which is more than a pretty face and a beautiful light. It is not an easy task to achieve. Recently, I tried to incorporate mirror in my portraits and also played with the flower crowns, trying to bring out the queen that regardless of age is hidden inside of every woman. Flowers are another perfect subject for photographers starting their exploration. They allow us to capture what is beyond their unique and rich shapes and colors. It was a very rewarding process to enjoy for quite a few years, and educational too. Here are some of my experiments with flowers. Frozen tulip. There are many stages that flowers go from blooming to fading, and there is a charm in every stage, sometimes more at the end than in the beginning. This faded tulip was given another life after I immersed it in water, placed in freezer, and photographed. This technique was shared by a talented former club member, Sherry Belanger. This variety of poppy, called the flamenco dance, was captured in Edwards Gardens in Toronto. One of the viewers mentioned to me that he could hear the sound of castanets when looking at this image. However, the time came when I realized that flowers is not something I want to concentrate more. Now I enjoy them with my eyes mostly, even though I know that flowers can be an incredible source of abstract images and macros. And like many of you, I experimented a little with macro photography, and I look forward to continuing to explore this medium more. Though the world outside is endlessly beautiful, it was equally rewarding to explore the beauty of shapes, forms, and objects inside. Still life photography, the process of creating an image from perishable objects in an attempt to make it imperishable, especially in the winter time, gave me the opportunity to search for magic in my own home, drawing an inspiration from everything around me and creating wonder from everyday objects. Some interesting results were achieved after very many arrangements and rearrangements, like these ones. The maple leaves, symbolic for Canada, holding up a little gourd, are complementing each other so beautifully that I had to capture this image, thinking about the fall, the fallen leaves, and all the things that are coming and going in our lives. The combination of similar oval shapes and handle stem positions, the seeds inside the pepper echoing the design on the cup and saucer, makes them kindred souls. Just follow the flow of line, shape, and light. The starting point for this image was the similarity of shapes, the bottle echoing the shape of the pears, a frequent subject in ancient and modern arts. In many cultures, a pear was a symbol of grace, nobility, and purity. Also, it symbolizes the human heart, which it resembles. My current personal photography challenge is incorporating objects that showcase the digital age we are living in now. With technology that has become such an essential part of our everyday lives, like cell phones, tablets, computers, etc. I tried very many arrangements with these objects without much success. The closest I have been able to get in that direction is this image of street lights and billboard lights with the candle in the foreground on the windowsill on a rainy night. It was thrilling to discover how harmonious the city lights can be when photographed from the 18th floor of the building that was my home for the last 18 years in Toronto. The little candlelight holder is collecting all the lights and beauty, then radiating it back. Through time and skill building in editing software, I was able to tackle the most sophisticated branch of contemporary photography, creative photography. It has been probably the hardest and the most enjoyable part so far, when it became possible to use single images as building blocks in creating a new reality. Called Freedom, this image is a composite of several images. The ultimate goal was to create an image that can convey the sense of freedom. Day of Doom was created using the Koilos, still sculpture by artist Michael Christian. This unusual creation had been in the Toronto Distillery District for a few years, since 2009. It is in a private collection now. Despite its terrifying appearance, the sculpture had an eerie beauty and was a popular Toronto attraction. I combined my photo of this faceless monster with a colorful Toronto sunset, and it became even more ominous. Then the owl, a harbinger of death, managed to get into the picture. This image, called Sorrow, is a sandwich of two images. One is the sculpture symbolizing the motherhood. It was photographed through the shut door glass in the hospital in Yerevan, where my son, my daughter, and myself were born. Once gracing the hall, now it was covered in dust, pushed to the corner. So sad. The other image of the sandwich is just candles in the church, where people light them in hope that their loved ones will be in a better place and God will help them in their endeavors. Requiem started as a broken clock that gave me an idea of a broken time. Then it was just the matter of photographing right candles to make it like a requiem for the time lost. Anyone can relate to it. Above the Sky was composed quite easily thanks to my daughter, who agreed to pose for me. I was always trying to find use for the images taken from the plane, and it worked nicely in this case. A few random thoughts. When submitting images for the competition, it is essential to provide them with accurate and meaningful titles. If the image has a well-thought title, it does help others, in our case competition judges, to go deeper into the image and try to see more than meets the eye, to see what the maker saw. Sometimes after I decide on a title, I test it with a quick Google search. As a result, once in a while, I make interesting discoveries. This image I titled Blowing in the Wind. Then I discovered a song by Bob Dylan with the refrain line, "The answer is blowing in the wind." What a pleasant discovery and the perfect metaphor for this image. Many little tricks I learned thanks to Creative Life workshops. I've been a devoted follower of Creative Life for some time after I discovered it in 2014 and learned quite a few editing techniques. For instance, one really simple and quite useful trick is how to watermark an image quickly. All one needs to do to bring the copyright symbol is to press Alt 0169. Before, I never felt like spending extra time to put a signature on my images. Now, once in a while, I sign my images, and I should admit, it feels good when you manage to create a really good image. The eye only can see what the mind is prepared to comprehend. Or we do not see things as they are. We see them as we are. This is something that could be said about any art form, since any art is to a certain degree a self-portrait. We see and appreciate things that we can feel a connection with. As I described it earlier with my 3 images, the more I explore the photography as an art form, the more I can see that the road ahead is really endless, and I am in the very beginning of it. Being in the club is a terrific experience, but there are roadblocks too. To get an award or to have a proof of progress and an illusion of accomplishment, there is a temptation for a club member to produce a cliché image or reproduce some iconic image or someone's work. It's a weak spot of any camera club. Because of that, camera clubs all over the world are called cliché production lines. Believing in your abilities is not always easy. I couldn't avoid that temptation and submitted for the Stairs assigned topic competition an image of the Aegeo's iconic stairs. It's an excellent version of something that was photographed 1,000 times, not something discovered by me. The image did receive an award. The good news, my other truly original image taken in the Masonic temple without a tripod with an ISO of 5000 received an award too, something that doesn't happen often. Our assigned topic competitions in recent years had been for me the best opportunity in the club to explore and experiment. It took me 2 months, not every day of course, to try very many arrangements and backgrounds before I was able to find a new way of capturing unassuming tiny perfume bottles in an attractive way. The joy of finding the solution and getting the result was immeasurable. I look back on years spent so far on mastering my photography skills and can see that many things contributed to it. In addition to factors I mentioned already, good cameras and lenses also played a substantial role. But above everything else, it was the process of getting ready for exhibits that was giving me a really noticeable boost. Each time it was a huge learning curve, and also it was like drawing a line and trying to see where I am now. I myself was the most important viewer and evaluator of the displayed work. My last solo exhibit, Juxtapositions, in 2019 in the Powell Gallery, before we all were paralyzed with this pandemic, helped me to come up with the unique idea of combining 3 images that convey one concept. Like these ones, where a young woman is painting her nails on the sidewalk, another person is meditating upon an interesting book, and the young man is painting a wall. This composition explores the idea of enjoying the city as an extension of home, in contrast to showing streets as a place for homeless people. During the exhibit preparation time, it became crystal clear that my real passion in photography is capturing fleeting moments of life, things that will never repeat themselves, like these ones. Thanks for being with me tonight.